If you grow disciples, you always get the church. If you start with the church, you may not necessarily always get disciples. The ReLearning community journey with 3DM in the UK began for MCEC more than 6 years ago, as we were exploring discipleship training avenues for church planters within MCEC. However, we very quickly discovered that what 3DM offered to us, engaging principles as opposed to practices, principles around discipleship, and those practices would form as teams spoke with each other and planned together and processed what God was leading them to. As we engaged this process, we noticed the opportunity to spark conversations of renewal and revitalization around our call to make disciples across the full spectrum of MCEC congregations. So from emerging church plants and missional communities through to traditional and historic congregations and everything in between, we have received both the invitation and the challenge to grow as disciples of Jesus who live into the relationship and responsibility of growing disciples who grow disciples. 4 years ago, our first cohort of 8 congregations, which included a neighborhood church group made up of several missional communities alongside long-established congregations, began the initial 2-year journey of ReLearning community. 3 years ago, our second cohort of 7 congregations, including an Anglican church plant and a Free Methodist congregation, began that 2-year journey. And a little more than a year ago, 13 congregations accepted our invitation to continue the journey into another 2 years of learning and experimenting and being accountable community together as a part of community of practice. And last November, we began our third cohort, the first to be entirely led by teachers and practitioners from within MCEC. We began the journey together of exploring culture change within our contexts and being attentive to how God was both inviting and challenging us to grow disciples who grow disciples. And within this context, we've also had the first opportunity to welcome a first-generation Canadian congregation as First Hmong Mennonite churches with us. And we've been challenged as an MCEC team to begin the work of cultural translation even among us, as we work into a different cultural context than our own. And as Ryan has already mentioned, this past weekend, the structural changes introduced into Mennonite Church Canada and approved last fall have opened the door for us to explore and experiment around the sharing of resources across Canada. And so last weekend, Sean East and I had the tremendous privilege of introducing ReLearning community to a group of 40 people representing 12 congregations across Mennonite Church Saskatchewan and even one Free Methodist in for good measure. We are hopeful that a prairie cohort can begin even as early as this fall. And over these past 6 years, ReLearning community has slowly and intentionally moved around the triangle of information to imitation. And as we've walked with our partners from Catalyze Change in the UK, today we are boldly moving into innovation as we explore new connections and new frontiers with ReLearning community. Alongside offering ReLearning community to the prairies, we are also looking to the east, to the Maritimes, and exploring relationship connections that we hope to develop over time. And as we explore these possibilities, we are also excited about offering a fourth cohort here in Southern Ontario. We are currently actively inviting congregations and church plants and missional communities from within MCEC, as well as multiple denominations. And just so you have a sense of how multiple we're talking about, we've had conversations with the Christian Reformed Church, the Baptist Church of Ontario and Quebec, several Pentecostal groups, a couple of charismatic congregations, multiple church plants, and several missional communities that are all exploring what it might mean to come and join us on the ReLearning community journey. And we invite your congregation to be a part of this journey with us. Take this message back to your congregation. Let's have a conversation together. I'd love to come and visit you and see how ReLearning community might connect with you. Thank you.